Hi there. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process for how to make a flowchart in the Microsoft Office suite. When you look at Microsoft Office, essentially you have a variety of different options that are all capable of making flowcharts. So we'll get started in Microsoft Word, but Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint have very similar alignments as well. And I'll talk to you about some strengths of some of the other tools after we go through the process in Microsoft Word. There are several tools outside of the Microsoft Office suite that also are capable of making flowcharts, but what's really nice is the Word option really has it integrated in. So what I've done is I've opened up Microsoft Word, as you can see here, and I'm just going to click onto, up at the top ribbon, click onto the term that says Insert. And from there, I'm going to click down to Shapes. What's really nice is if you look at the headings here, you can see recently used, lines, rectangles, basic shapes, block arrows, equations, and looky there, there's flowcharts. So when you kind of hover over those, they also tell you what their symbols are used for. So that's a data symbol, whereas this is the decision symbol. So you can see, what to use at what points, which is really a, kind of a nice little legend for you, so you kind of understand those. But this is our starting point, and it doesn't really say that, so this is the starting and end point symbol here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that symbol, and then I'm going to, you can see that crosshairs are there, so I'm going to insert it just the size that I want it. And you can notice it's just a rectangle that has rounded corners. So this is the Microsoft option for those starting and end points. And so, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put it in there, whatever size that we want it to look like and the location that we want it to look like. So now that it's in, we have quite a few options. And yes, we can click onto it and we can change its color. We can do all kinds of different types of things. We can manually select what color we want to fill in there. For that starting point, and sometimes it's helpful to make the starting and end points not only a different shape but a different color can be helpful. So in this case, we'll just go with green, and what I've done is I've just clicked on it again, and I'm going to right click in this case, and I'm going to hit Add Text. From there, now it essentially moves my cursor inside there. So I'm going to say, this is a, just in general, this is a tutorial on how to make a flowchart. So we're going to say open Microsoft Word is the starting point. So that's where we start our process, and we're going to end our process with, essentially complete flowchart. And so defining that start point and that end point, and we'll position these where they need to go later on. And that can be the touchy point. You can say flowchart tutorial completed. Okay, would be our ending point. I'm just gonna, for temporary use, I'm just gonna slip it down there for now. So looking at how to do this now, so it's a pure manual process, so you're going to continue to go to Insert, you're going to continue to go to Shapes, and you're going to kind of work through this process. So in this case now we're going to insert an arrow so we know what to do next. So I'm just going to go to the edge, click it, and now look at there. I'm going to make it nice and straight, and I'm going to insert it. From there then we are going to have a process shape. So that's just a traditional rectangle here. So again, just clicking on the rectangle, insert, and in this case it's blue, and we can just leave it defaulted as blue, and that's okay. So what are we going to do next? So now what we have said, what are we doing? So we're going to add text, and we went to insert appropriate shape is what we've done in Microsoft Word. So we've inserted the appropriate shape to continue on with our process. So there you have the option essentially to go to insert and then shape, and then you can continue to copy and paste or insert these arrows. What I typically do is I'll grab it and then I'll just hit Control C for copy and Control V for paste. And then I'll just paste it right in. So that way my arrows are always the same. I don't have to worry about the line being straight. The links are always the same and that type of thing. Insert shape. Then I'm going to do, just for the purpose of an example, I'll do a decision diamond next. So I'm going to grab that, and nope, not that one. So we're going to hit insert, and just this decision diamond here. And you can see, we'll make it nice, traditional diamond-like. We're going to make a decision here. So in this case, we've inserted the symbol. You can change the color if you so choose. We're going to right-click it. We're going to hit Add Text, and I'm going to say, was the correct symbol used? And this is one thing in Microsoft Word that you're seeing is you're not seeing the rest of the text. So I have to make, in this case, my box bigger so that I can see everything. So you can see in here, that's everything that I wanted. My decision is a question. If the answer to that is, let's say, we're going to have to put in 2 arrows. So one is a yes direction. So we'll say, just for the sake of flow, this is not pretty, and you'll spend time making it pretty. But we'll say that this is no, and I'm going to make another one that says this is going to be the yes direction. It's changing, and we're going to go down. And it's okay, however you snake through the process is going to be just fine. But you can see it's touchy. It's hard to make straight lines, but you can get it done in this tool if you spend time trying to get it done. So in this case, what I'll say is that we're going to insert. In this case, we'll insert a text box. I'll grab this simple text box here, and then I'm going to hit the term no. I'm going to make the box nice and small. And in this case, you can see what it does in that text box is it puts a box around everything by default. So we can click onto that. We can say no fill on that box. We can say no outlet on that box. And now we can just see, okay, here's the word no. And that's what we want. So in that case, we say no. We're going to go back. We're going to insert the correct shape. Okay, makes sense. And then I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And then lay it down, and then in this case I'm going to say yes. Yes, we did insert the correct shape. So what are we going to do next? Well, then we're going to insert our next shape. So in this case, you can see all I'm doing is using Control-C and Control-V because I've already inserted the shape. So now it's always going to be the same size and the same color. So that can help speed up the process. So I'm going to say insert next step in the process. Okay, so whatever that next step in the process is going to be, we're going to do that. And then essentially, if we have to make any more decisions, we'll continue to do that. But for the purpose of keeping this tutorial relatively short and just utilizing those 4 basic symbols, I'm going to just say that we are going to complete the process here in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to throw in my arrow, I'm going to bring that arrow down, and I'm going to connect them. So ideally, you're going to spend time again making these arrows straight. It can be a tedious process. Sometimes I have to really zoom in order for me to actually see what these look like in order to make them straight, and even then it can be a little bit frustrating. But it takes some time, and if you're willing to put in the time, Microsoft Word may be a tool for you to be able to consider using. So in essence, that's Microsoft Word. I'm going to open up Microsoft Excel next so you can see what that looks like in this process. So this is a general Microsoft Excel document, and why I like this is because of the grid. What this really does is it gives you straight lines, so it makes sure that all of your symbols are really aligned. So when we look at this, we're going to just go to the same type of thing. We're going to go to Insert, and we'll look for our Shapes tool. And because my window is a little bit small, it's hiding it a little bit. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So really this is shapes. In this case, if I continue to make this bigger, there we're seeing the word shapes now. So shapes, and look at that, it's basically this exact same menu that we just saw. We can go down to insert, the flowchart functions, and then we can go and click exactly where we want it. And so now, like you can see here, we can very easily control that size of that shape to make that shape consistent, and say, okay, we're going 3 columns wide and 4 rows deep for each of these symbols. Okay, well, that's very obvious now that we're good to go. We're going to add text. And then the process is relatively similar, except you can see, it's interesting, you can see where they place the text is now different. So this is, we'll just call this starting point. And in this case, so instead of placing it in the center like they did in Word, they placed it in the upper left. So then you have to mess with essentially that placement. So everything can take some time, but when you go to Home and you mess with, okay, we're going to center a line as far as its level, and then center a line again as far as its other level. So X and Y centering points. Okay, now we're in the center. So it's similar, but it's nice that way you can really make sure that you have straight lines kind of going through this process. So when we insert our arrow, we're going to hit this connector here, and now we know we have a straight line because it's utilizing this line. So you can create a very structured document this way. So definitely has some advantages over Word in that way. But at the beginning where you're having to mess with the placement of that text, can be a little bit different. So in essence, that's how Microsoft Excel works. And you can see, I'll just, for good measure, I'll just throw in one more shape. In this case, a decision diamond. We're going to put that right next to it so it connects really nice. And then from there, then we can essentially connect the two, which is something that Microsoft Word, at least in that version, did not allow us to do. So what you notice is that these two are now connected. So when I move this decision diamond, it's connected, which is really awesome, because that way, if I need to make an adjustment, they always stay connected. So we never lose out on the causal direction on our process. Same type of idea here is I've connected those two. You can see when it's green dots and green dots, that means that they are connected. And in this case, it's fully connected, which is awesome. So I'm going to make it nice and straight, put it back where I was at, and just take it off just for reiteration of how to do this. So since there's not a green dot here, this means it's no longer connected. So I'm just going to extend it over, wait till it's, you can see the other dots. I'm going to lay it down on top of that gray dot, and in that case, now the two are fused. So a nice little upgrade in comparison to what we experienced before. And in essence, typically they have about 4 localization points on these shapes. So in this case, for the decision diamond, it's going to be at the points. For the rectangles, it's going to essentially be at the midpoint. So here, 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 and here. Where the diamond will be here, 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 and here for those connector points. So why that's important is then when we insert our next shape, and I'm just going to hit Control-C and Control-V on my keyboard to do that. I'm going to click onto that gray box, and so now we're connected there at that point. And then if we need we always need a yes and no arrow off of that decision diamond, so you can see what that really looks like. Okay, so again, make it nice and straight, and you can see in this tool how much easier it is to make sure that things are straight and aligned because of this grid. So nice option, one that I personally prefer over Microsoft Word. Okay, same process though. What else you can do and where this can be helpful depending on how you set things up is because this is cell based, now instead of inserting a text box, we can just type in the word no, we can center that, and so essentially now this is saving us even more time because now we have a no direction, and in this case now we have a yes direction. So I'm just going to again center those, and in this case if we want that in the center of the center, now we have that, and we can do that, and we can insert our next shape then beyond that. So we're nice and straight in these cases. So, and if you're not, you can just continue to mess with it until you get to that straight points, but it's a lot easier to visually assess this way. Okay, so that's Microsoft Excel, and then just real quick here to just reiterate this in Microsoft PowerPoint, we're going to do the same type of process here. So I've opened up PowerPoint. I'm just going to change my layout to blank. And in this case, what I'm going to do is just go to my insert, and then we have this option to insert shapes again, and then we can go back to our flowchart shapes. And it's the same type of idea where we can insert our shapes, and then I'll insert my decision diamond here just to kind of reiterate this process. And then this gives us this nice alignment option. So it can say, okay, now we're in the center of the diamond. We're also in the center. So that nice alignment tool comes up. It just kind of appears once you're in the center of those. So again, for alignment purposes, this definitely has opportunity ahead of Word. We're going to insert our arrow. This one gives us those diamonds, or those gray dots. So now those two are connected. So it looks easy. And we can just edit text exactly the same as what we did before. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully now you have some options at your disposal for how to actually do this. One really nice thing about that I didn't cover is if you hit, I'm going to hit the button on my keyboard called Control. So I'm going to hit Control, and then I'm going to select this shape, and then I'm going to select this shape, and then I'm going to select this shape. What that does is then it allows us to group these. So I just right-clicked after I was done to bring up this menu for group. I've grouped these, and now they float together. So now instead of just the arrow connecting, now these are kind of like merged into one general graphic. You can still go back and you can double click and you can still edit things and do what you need to, but it's grouped together or merged together, which is really helpful. Instead of using the button Control, you also can use the button Control A, which is Control All. I'm going to just hit ungroup for the purpose of example here. So I've ungrouped everything. I'm going to hit Control A, and that's selected everything, and now I have the option to group. So there's lots of little shortcuts, and you'll learn those along the way, but hopefully for Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, you have a firmer understanding of how to make these flowcharts and how to make them work for what you're trying to approach. Thank you so much for watching.